Hello and welcome to a new video by me, Martin, and this is ELT Experiences. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you some ideas on how I go through my process of lesson planning, and hopefully this will give you some ideas on what to incorporate when you're planning your own lessons as well. So today, I'm going to be using this course book, Move Pre-Intermediate. It's not a course book that I'm using at the moment. I haven't used it for a while, but I thought I'd use this course book to try and see how I would teach a particular unit or a particular page and what I would, incorporate, what would I embed, what would I supplement a particular unit with regards to English language teaching. And hopefully this will give you some inspiration on sharing your own ideas and what you would do differently as well. So let's get started. And I thought I flagged out a page that I wanted to look at. And it's this page here. So it's a particular topic about, if we have a look at it, food, a question of taste, and there's a particular reading about blue food. And then looking a bit later on, there's quantifiers with countable and uncountable nouns. So that's the grammar focus. There's not much about particular food in the UK, so I'm getting a little idea on what to incorporate. So let me get my ideas down. And for whenever I plan a lesson, I like to get some ideas and write down my ideas on a notebook, and I can then look back at it and tick out the ones that I like, or remove the ones that aren't necessarily very good. So some ideas that I'm looking at. So colour of food. Getting there. Okay, so I'm starting to get an idea of what to incorporate with the particular lesson. And when I look at a lesson, I like to break it down into possibly 3 stages, maybe 4. And the way I visualize a lesson is a bit like an egg timer. So you start out quite broad, and then you go right down towards a particular area of focus, and then you broaden it out again for the students to practice. And that's how I always visualize a particular lesson. So when it comes up to the warmer, or setting up the lesson, I'm getting some ideas of maybe a survey, maybe a survey of eating habits, or survey of likes and dislikes, maybe related to food. That would be quite interesting, and that would generate quite a lot of interest and would get students speaking as much as possible. You could probably embed some of the key language there with regards to vegetables, fruit and vegetables, maybe meat. That would be good, and other types of food. And then I'm starting to look at the grammar focus, which is countable and uncountable nouns, and obviously it's related to food. The idea that I've got at the moment, once they complete the survey, is maybe getting students to match countable and uncountable food, so it's all mixed up, maybe words or pictures, and they have to work out what food you can add S to and what words would be uncountable without the S. So that's the first idea. Now, when it comes down to the reading that I've got, I'm thinking with the reading, there's some rather difficult language for pre-intermediate students. And if we have a look, there is attractive, familiar. We expect something. So I would start to highlight these words and obviously get particular meanings. We've got natural looking. All right. It's quite an interesting article about how colour has evolved with regards to food and how humans regard maybe the colour blue as not so tasty, and also purple and black as warning colours to be poisonous. So it's quite interesting, that evolution. I wonder whether there's something we could add with regards to the colour of food. Trying to get students to associate particular colours with particular likes and dislikes of food. Got divide. Got spaghetti and rice, so some uncountable nouns here. Biscuits, countable. Okay. What I will do actually is I'm going to try and highlight all the words which are related to food in that reading article, and I'm going to use those foods as possible countable, uncountable for that matching exercise. So what I would do is, let's see, now we're getting there. So number one, food survey. Likes and dislikes. So that would be the warm-up, the lead-in. And that would get students mingling around, moving around the classroom. The second activity I would look at is so what else have we got? We've got read the report about the relationship between colour and the taste of food. Which item in the picture is not mentioned? Okay, so we've got various pictures here. Okay, I would get these pictures out. Okay, so, all right, food survey, that's good. Next one would be What I would do is I would match particular words to particular pictures. And so we've got these pictures here and these pictures here. I would write out the words, type them out, print them out, and then I would also photocopy the pictures or find other pictures online. So if we have a look online, we can go to Google. So Google's great. We can go to butter, for example. And if we have a look at images for butter, we have lots of pictures of butter here. So, you can start to copy and paste pictures in. You don't need to use the images in the course book. For me, I like to try and use the course book as a sort of springboard. So I don't particularly like to use all the pictures in the course book, and it only takes a minute to source those images and copy it into Word, for example. So let's copy that image. Let's go to Word. And let's see, and there we are. We've got the first picture. And then I would get the word up and increase the size. Excuse me. I have a small cold at the moment, so I'm coughing away. So I would get words related to the images, and then get the images all printed out, and then get students to try and match them together. So we've got the survey as a warm-up, then we've got the words and the vocabulary coming out. Okay, and then I would put the reading I would give the reading to each student. Okay, so we got the warmer, the food survey, likes and dislikes. We've got the matching words to pictures. And then we've got handing out the reading to each student. And then trying to match what pictures are mentioned or what types of food. So we've got all these foods here, what they are, what's mentioned within the reading, and then that would be good. So with regards to timing, food survey, I would say 10 minutes. Matching words to pictures, 5 minutes. So we've got 15 minutes there. Handing out the reading to each student, and then with this, this would be 5 minutes. Okay, and then I would look at particular words. So key language. Let's see. Okay, so we've got a nice process going on there. When it comes down to the actual reading, I would then get students to complete this part of the lesson. and it's completing sentences. So the students have the start of the sentence and they have to try and complete the sentence in their own words. Then we've got discussion. I'm going to now, this is where it starts to get a bit more interesting, because then when it comes to the food survey and I've got the discussion questions, I'm thinking, well, I would embed these discussion questions within the survey and have it reversed slightly as a sort of lead-in. That would make sense, and it would prepare students for what they're about to read, rather than reading the text and then having the discussion afterwards. It just seems a bit unnatural in a way, and I want to adjust that natural lesson flow. Okay, so yeah, these. Right. Okay, so I'm thinking, based on my experience, the survey, the intro, the warm-up, the lead-in, the word matching to pictures, and the actual reading activity. This would take about 30 minutes. I would introduce it. So just remember, we're teaching pre-intermediate students at this time. And that's before the actual reading comprehension, and this will take about 10 minutes. And I would get students to complete the sentence in their own words and try and work together as pairs. Okay, so that would be about 40 minutes. And we haven't even touched upon the grammar yet. So when it comes down to the grammar, what we have is quite an interesting introduction. Now, I would disregard this at the moment, and I would look at more language. And we have the key language from the beginning of the lesson and the photos, so you could review the language. Yeah, this is what I'm going to do. So after the reading comprehension, review the food language, and you could use the images to review it. And that's going to be about, I would say 5 minutes. So we're already at the 45-minute mark. And imagine we're teaching maybe an hour lesson. Yeah, an hour. So we're already at 45 minutes. Usually my lessons are about an hour and a half. Imagine you're teaching an hour and a half for the lesson. That would be quite interesting. And actually the countable, uncountable, yeah, I'm going to embed that with the initial survey. So how much and how many, we can already incorporate that within the initial survey, so that, they aren't necessarily aware of the particular language at that point, but they've already been exposed to it earlier on within the particular lesson, and that would actually make sense. Yeah. So that's what I would do. Now, with regards to grammar, and this is where it goes right down deep again. You're really focusing on this particular grammar point. So you started large and you've focused right down. And with regards to the grammar, I would introduce particular nouns which you can add an S to or you can't add an S to. So I would look at the particular language that we've reviewed and say, for example, meat. Can you add an S to a meat? There are different kinds of meats. I suppose you can in that context. But it's uncountable, isn't it? Usually 2 cuts of meat. 3 cuts of meat. Yeah, so I would focus mainly on this area. So meat, what else we got? We've got butter. We've got, what is that? Cookies, okay. Biscuits, let's call it biscuits. But I wouldn't add the S at that time. Potato. Carrot, leek, cucumber, and we've got what? Rice and noodles. Yeah, rice and noodles. Then we've got knife, fork, spoon, bowl, glass, and plate. Okay, so we've got all this language here, and then I would get students to try and work out which ones you can add an S to, which ones you can't add an S to. And I would get students to make a table. So countable and uncountable. Okay, so for example, I would introduce that particular grammar and then say, okay, meat, and then provide a sort of demonstration for the students. Can you add an S to a meat as its raw form? No pun there, sorry. Raw meat, okay. Can you add an S to meat? No, you can't, unless there's a specific context to it, but that's a bit too far for the students at the moment. So I'd say, well, that's uncountable. Biscuit, can you add an S to a biscuit? Yes, you can. And I would say, okay, that's countable. And that's how I would introduce the concept of countable and uncountable nouns, particularly with food. And then I say, right, okay, have a think of all the other types of food that was introduced into the reading and all the other things related to food, and see which ones are countable and uncountable nouns. And I would give the students maybe 10 minutes to review that. And it's student-led, okay? Yeah, okay, so then we've got that. Then, once that's done and we've reviewed it, so say another 10 minutes to review. All right, so, wow, we're almost there. We've got 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 45, 55. We're about an hour and 5 minutes there, so we're about 25 minutes away from the end of the lesson. And then we're going to start looking at consolidating and reviewing the grammar form. Okay, so once that's reviewed with the students, and I would make a particular worksheet. So let's see, and it would be a sort of Gapfill exercise. So and this will reinforce the actual survey that was conducted at the beginning of the lesson. That seems to make sense. So you could have a Gapfill exercise, and the students have already been exposed to it, that particular grammar, unconsciously, I suppose, and reviewing much and many, aren't and isn't. That would make sense, and so it would be a Gapfill exercise. Yeah. Okay. So Gapfill exercise, yeah, we're getting there. So we've got a nice lesson there. And then, as with every lesson that I like to do, I'm going to finish it off. So say that's 10, 15, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50, 60, 15 minutes. Okay, so we're at 85 minutes now, and we've got 15 minutes left to spare. And what I like to do is to try and incorporate a nice game. And for this, I would incorporate maybe Chinese whispers to review language. Okay, so we've got all the different types of aspects, all the different stages of that particular lesson written down, and we've got 8 main stages. Okay, so when it comes down to a particular lesson, I always like to think back about what the students will have achieved by the end of the lesson, and it's always a useful technique to ask yourself what they would have achieved by the end of the lesson. Now, if we look back at what I've prepared, you can see there's quite a lot for the students to have achieved by the end of the lesson. So we've got a food survey of likes and dislikes. We've got a reading activity related to the desirability of food and colour. Grammar, so students will have been introduced and practiced countable and uncountable nouns. They would have practiced it with a Gapfill exercise with much and many, is and are, and then reviewed the language at the end of the lesson. So yeah, have a think back about what the students will have achieved, and once you've finished that particular lesson, see, have the students actually achieved what you set out to do? And obviously this is just a set plan, it's not necessarily set in stone, but hopefully it gives you some ideas of my thought process and how I plan a lesson. And obviously I just made notes, and then I started to formulate some ideas, and then it all started to come together, and it just takes a bit of time and a bit of practice and you'll get there. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and feel free to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to subscribe. Let me know in the comments below whether you thought there was something that I missed out, and because I can't be perfect, and it'd be really interesting to hear about your ideas about what this particular lesson would have been lacking, I suppose. Anyway, have a great day. I'll see you next time, and happy teaching.